Hello and welcome to The Shift, the podcast that aims to tell the no-holds-barred truth about being a woman post-40. Created and hosted by me, journalist and author Sam Baker. My guest today is a fashion editor on a mission to improve the representation of all women over 40, not just the thin white ones with a ton of spare cash. Anna Cascarina has worked in the fashion industry for over 25 years, first as a fashion editor and stylist, then as a teacher. But she got older and so did her body. Something began to rankle. She was starting to feel like she and women like her, i.e. women over 40 and over a size 14, were not welcome here. In the stores she'd always shopped at, in the magazines she'd worked for and pored over, in ad campaigns and on screen. So Anna started her Instagram account to help women who didn't fit the mould feel empowered through fashion. 120,000 followers later, seems like she's not the only one who's hacked off with the fashion industry for invisibling her.
Maybe women feel like they need something extra to make them feel relevant, or the things that they may have ordinarily have worn, they feel like it's just not working for them anymore. Their body shape has changed.
Anna joined me to talk about her new book, The Forever Wardrobe, being a size 16 woman who loves fashion when it doesn't love her back, the impact the fashion industry has had on her body image, and the responsibility she feels not to pass that on to her daughter. We also discussed how her epilepsy has impacted perimenopause and some ugly truths about aging that no one wants to tell you. Hello, arthritis. Yeah, I was like snooping around and I had this sudden fear. Had you gone blonde? Did you dabble with blonde and go back?
I did go blonde, yeah, and then I went back. I loved it, but it just didn't feel like me.
No, it looked like someone else completely.
Yeah, I know. But I did really enjoy it, the time that I had with it. It was really good. But I mean, it was so much easier because my hair is like almost completely grey now. And and I'm just not ready to embrace it just yet. It's the growing out. If I could just go grey, that'd be great. But it's just the growing out. So it was so much easier being blonde because I could just, I could, it was just much easier
That's true. Yeah.
It didn't show so much. So now that I'm dark again, it's like every 3 weeks. Oh, for God's sake, it's coming through again.
Man, I do totally know what you mean because as my hair has faded, I definitely feel like I'm a bit beige when you catch a glimpse of yourself walking past a mirror or a shop window, you're a bit like, oh, where's the definition gone?
It's so hard, isn't it? It's as we get older, there's just so many things. I've just found out I've got arthritis in my lower back. So much. Oh, I've been in pain for over a year and I've been trying to get an MRI. Finally, I got one a couple of months ago and then I had to wait for the results and finally got the results this Thursday just gone. And I've got arthritis. So I feel like an 80-year-old. Oh, yeah. So it's just like constant like battling with trying to embrace the aging process, but also realizing that I can't do quite as much anymore and my bones are getting older but it's one of those things, isn't it? It's just pain management. That's all I need to do.
Yeah, it's a bit like that kind of, like you say, the embracing aging. And there are so many great things about getting older, but it does feel like you're almost not allowed to say, but actually I can't put my socks on without sitting down anymore, for instance. You're not allowed to say actually that there are shit things too. And arthritis. Oh my God.
I know. I'm getting older.
I mean, I want to talk to you a lot, obviously, about clothes and fashion and women's bodies and the way that fashion industry treats, well, all women actually, but older women. But let's start a bit by getting a little bit of context about you because not everybody will know who you are. So tell me a little bit about a bit of background about you.
Well, I'm a 50-year-old woman who has gorgeous 2 teenage children and a lovely husband. But my background is fashion editing and styling. So I started off doing lots of work experience in fashion fashion magazines, and I absolutely loved it. But my degree was actually in product development, so I was supposed to go a different way, like buying, marketing, that kind of thing.
Say, what would that have been, like merchandising or something?
Yeah, buying. My degree was nothing to do with journalism at all, but it was a 4-year degree, so there was a year in industry, and during that time, I did a few different work experience stints in magazines, and I absolutely loved it. And I thought, this is for me. So that's the route I went, and then started my own magazine for 5 years, which was a children's magazine, which was amazing. So lots of, it was all about independent little kids brands and giving them sort of a platform to showcase their work, rather than, because it's just so difficult for small brands to get press. So it was really good fun, lots of shoots, very low budget and difficult.
Yeah,
but
so was that for the brands or the kids that you did that?
For the brands.
Right.
Yeah. So it was it was great fun. 5 years of hell.
Yeah.
And in the end, back when my children were younger, I just became really interested in kids fashion, and I was just like, oh, this is, I want to go this route. But then when they got older, I sort of realised that actually I really missed the women's wear and working within women's fashion and helping women. So I, alongside my magazine, I started on Instagram and sort of built that up before I then said, right, enough's enough. So I'm stopping the magazine. I'm just going to concentrate on doing this. So now I'm mainly find me on Instagram, Substack. I do some styling still for brands, and yeah, that's me.
So I want to talk obviously a lot more about the Instagram, but what kind of kid were you? Were you always into clothes? Were you one of those really fashionable teenagers?
I was really into being as different as possible. So I think it was a little bit like when you go to fashion college and you just want to be the weirdest person in the room. You know, I just wanted to make sure that the thought of looking like everybody else really scared me. I wanted to be really independent and wear just really weird and wonderful things, much to my mum's annoyance.
Yes, yeah, mum's worst nightmare.
Exactly. But I used to really love going to Portobello Road or Kensington Market or Hyper in Kensington, just buying the weirdest thing I could and then going out clubbing that night. It was just, that was kind of my teenage years. I don't think, younger than sort of about 15, I wasn't really interested in fashion. I think it came to me sort of like mid to late teens, but I always wanted to work with animals when I was younger, like everybody. But yeah, once I found fashion, and I think I grew up in Hertfordshire, and it was so easy to get into London, and I was just there every weekend, and it's such a creative space. And then when obviously I went to fashion college, and everyone is just it's just so creative. That's kind of where my love for it, I think, came from.
So you worked in magazines, and I worked in magazines, and for me, I don't know whether I didn't see it, I wasn't aware of it, I chose not to see it, but it was only really, I suppose, once I got into my 40s that I started to really become aware of what I started to see as the kind of inequality that was almost at the heart of the fashion industry. When do you think you became conscious of it?
Probably only in the last 10, 15 years, or maybe even 10 years. I think because I've been freelance, I don't know whether that stopped me from seeing it so much. But I think it was when I started working with other women as well, and they noticed it and they felt like they weren't being represented. And also social media as well. I started my account because I didn't feel represented myself, and I wanted to be that person for other women in their 40s and beyond. I think it was then really that I started to think, hang on a minute, where are these older women? What, we've got the disposable income, we've got, we still want to spend our money in all these lovely different brands and different stores, but we're not being represented either on social media or advertising. So that's when I started to think, oh, this isn't on.
So probably kind of at a point when I'm not trying to make you sound bad. I'm trying to, because I think this is definitely the case for me. At a point when it started to affect you, and when you started, instead of working with models and really in the industry, working with women who were trying to buy clothes every day.
Yeah, definitely. And myself as well. I felt like I think also because I was working within the kids space for I'd sort of come away from the women's sector and was working within a kids space. I kind of didn't notice it. And then when I went back to that and I started building a social media presence and wanted to work with brands as well. And, that was difficult.
As an older God. Yeah.
Exactly. And it was sometimes it was brands that you would think of as I don't want to say a middle-aged brand, but a brand that notoriously women over 30, 40 would shop there, and they weren't getting represented. And it's like their core customer. And that was that didn't sit well with me. I was like thinking, why are you trying to work with sort of a 20-year-old for a brand that, that a 20-year-old really wouldn't shop there? So that was frustrating.
Well, it's the kind of equation, isn't it, fashion is so obsessed with image and coolness, and it's the equation of coolness with youth, when there are so many really cool older women.
Exactly. And that's what's frustrating. I think, why can't it be forever? Why can't everyone be represented within a so for example, one of my favorite brands is COS. And when you go into COS, you find all different ages there. But I don't think that's represented sometimes it's represented in their advertising, but not very often. And like you said before, it's always like a model, a thin young looking model that's an older woman, rather than someone that would actually resonate with the rest of us. So yeah, well, that frustrates me, because I'll go into COS and I just see all these different women of some 20, some 60, 70 older, all shopping there, all looking amazing. And I just think, why can't they represent all of us? Are they that scared that it will show the brand in a bad light if they showcase older women? And that's what I find frustrating.
Yeah. So, okay, be honest. So when you go on a website that does showcase, say, their jeans on 5 or 6 different body shapes, does that make you more likely to buy? Or are you still influenced by the skinny woman who looks amazing rather than the woman who maybe looks more like you or me?
Yes, that's a good question, because obviously we are influenced by what we think society, what we're bombarded with as beautiful. But I think for me, it's more about the aesthetic. So if I really love the aesthetic of a brand, if the product is shot beautifully, it doesn't matter what size the woman is. So I really love the brand Ace and Jig, which is I don't know if you've heard of it.
I've never heard of them.
It's an American brand. They're based in Brooklyn, and they do really beautiful, like lots of print and colour. It's probably not very me now, but I love their advertising and the way that their whole ethos. It's really beautiful. But they shoot on different sized women and different ages as well. And the shoots are just so beautiful, and the products are so beautiful that they speak for themselves. And I think it's, for women of different sizes, it's so important to see what it's going to look like on somebody more their size, because otherwise you might buy something but you're just going to return it because it's not going to look how you think it's going to look, or what you hope it's going to look, or it's not going to fit well or whatever. So I think for me it depends on how a brand approaches it with their styling, with their if it's really beautifully shot, then it doesn't make any difference to me. I think for me, it's more important that we're older women aren't shown in like an old fashioned, like fuddy duddy, mumsy, which I hate that word, but you know what I mean. Sort of just, if they're showcased in a beautiful way, why can't we look modern and cool as an older woman.
No, it's like there are two things going on, aren't there? There's the kind of, you're the person you always were, and you're like, well, I was allowed to be cool or sexy or slick or whatever your vibe is 5 years ago. Why aren't I now? Also, there's a thing that I came across a lot when I was writing the Shift book, and I'm sure you come across all the time on Instagram, is that there does seem to be a bit of a moment, and I definitely had one, where kind of fail-safe thing that you used to do, you get out of bed, not even think about it, put that on, leave the house. All of a sudden, that didn't quite feel like it worked anymore. So there's the way the industry's treating you, but also there's something, not all women, but for a lot of people I've spoken to, something coming from inside as well. What do you think that is?
I don't know. I think maybe women feel like they need something extra to make them feel relevant, or the things that they may have ordinarily have worn, they feel like that it's just not working for them anymore. Their body shape has changed, or we have, like you said, we haven't changed, and I still feel the same person that I always have. But maybe we feel like we have to prove ourselves a bit more and prove that we're, I don't know, worthy of looking good and feeling like we're relevant in this world.
Yeah. What's your own relationship with your body image?
Not good. I've struggled over the years. I've always felt like my body wasn't good enough. And I think that's probably working in magazines and being around models and like that size sort of 0. It's just really hard. And when I look back now, when I was that age working, my body was absolutely, fine. There was nothing wrong with it, but it wasn't small. It was never small. So I've always struggled with that. And I think society is getting better at attacking that kind of stereotype. And I've always struggled with it. And as I've got older, and especially now as I've got back issues and I'm in pain and I can't do the exercise that I want to do, because I started strength training a couple of years ago and I've had to stop that because it's just too painful. I feel like my body's going rapidly downhill. So I'm trying to change that. I'm trying to do as much as I can, lots of walking. And I think my own body issues, they're there. And I always feel like I need to be smaller. And I don't know if that's ever going to change, because it's just ingrained in me. But I try my best. And I don't ever talk about that on Instagram, because I don't think people need to hear it. So I try and be as positive as possible. And I just put myself out there as a size 16 woman that, loves fashion. But it is a struggle. And, I have to be honest about that, because that's just how society has always been.
Yeah. And it doesn't help that size 16 is as high as some brands go.
If they go that far, yeah. I mean, a lot of, especially high-end brands, their large is a 12. So it's which is ridiculous, because on average, women's average size is a size 16. So, and that's average. So what about all those women that are 18, 20, 22 and above? They don't feel represented. It's really hard for them to find clothes that suit their. And I don't know if you follow Abby Marvel on Instagram. She's Abisola. She's so lovely, and she has started doing this plus size passing thing on Instagram, where she goes into high-end stores and she tries on lots of different items, whether they're a size 10, a 12 or whatever, and she, if she can fit them, she puts them on her Substack as plus size passing, so you can wear it. It does fit, like it might be a stretch fabric, or it might be an oversized item that fits, a plus size body. But it's really interesting, because most of these stores probably will never see a plus size woman enter their store, let alone their changing rooms. So she does this series from different high end stores, and it's just really good, because it's like showing that it is accessible. Yes, it's not the best, because they don't go up to a size whatever 20, 22 or bigger, but it's showing that you can actually wear these items sometimes. So I really love that. But yeah, it's so, I just think the more we see it, and there are some really good body positive accounts, but they still get so much hate, and there's still so much stigma around it, and I don't think it's ever going to change. So it's just something that we have to kind of work on ourselves, I suppose.
So grim, isn't it? I mean, you've got 1,200 posts on your Instagram, and that nearly every single one is of you, because that's what you do, is a video or a picture. How did constantly taking pictures of yourself affect your body image?
Well, initially, when I first started, I found it really difficult. I think it's like anything. The more you do it, the easier it becomes. I don't think being on Instagram and showing myself has affected me in a negative way. I thought I've still got my body issues, and that's just by getting dressed in the morning and looking in the mirror. But I think actually it's probably helped in some way, and also other people as well, hopefully, showing that in my size, 16, you can still look good and still embrace fashion. And it's you don't have to be a size 6 or an 8 or a really small size or really young. So I think it has helped me a little bit, because I get so many lovely messages as well from people saying, so it's really refreshing to see somebody that's not stick thin, and that looks a bit more like me, that's my age. So that's really positive, and so I think it's probably helped more in a positive way than negative. And I think now that I've done so many posts and so many videos, that it's just part of it, and I don't feel embarrassed doing it. I do sometimes, if I've got a tripod and I'm outside and somebody walks past, like, what the hell are you doing? But I think it's just everywhere now. So I think most people know that there's content creators, and that's what we do.
One of the things that interests me is I know a few fashion journalists who started having to have their picture in the paper or wherever a lot, and to a single woman, they all lost weight. I couldn't help thinking that was because once they started having to be shot probably in samples or shop stock, depending, and having to see pictures of themselves every week in the paper, they all kind of went on a fitness kick.
Yeah, I mean, I know I've put on weight. I've gone the opposite.
Go, Anna.
So so I've put on probably about 2 stone over the last maybe 5 years. And I think that's just my age and hormones and overeating. So yeah, I've probably gone and it does affect me. I mean, I if I'm honest, I don't want to be this way. I've been trying to eat more healthily on what I do want to lose, and I think that probably will help with my back as well, issues as well. So I have been trying to be healthier rather than kind of, I just want to be healthy, really, and live a long life. So yeah, I definitely haven't lost. So I definitely started off a couple of stone lights. I was probably more of a 14 when I first started on Instagram, and then I've just put on a dress size, maybe 2 nearly, but yeah, so it hasn't affected me in that way. Maybe if I was on TV or something like that, it would be different. But yeah, no, it's not made. I mean, I'm conscious of it, and especially being around so many thin content creators. Most of them are really small, and that I always feel like I'm the biggest person in the room, and I'm only a size 16, which is ridiculous. And it's there's not that there are plus size women out there, but a lot of the brands I work with maybe don't cater for them. So if I go to an event, those plus size women aren't there because the brands don't cater for them. So I feel like I'm sometimes, I don't know whether I'm used as a bit of a token as an older woman and a bit bigger.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it, though? Because it's like the media, if you like, has been not totally taken out of the equation, but its power and importance has probably been removed quite a lot. And yet that is still thriving.
Has it been replaced by social media, though? Because, people people get their content from there now. You know, it's like most people scroll for hours and you know, a lot of my friends aren't even on social media because they're a bit older and they don't. But the younger generation, definitely, that's just, you know, they consume everything from there. And if they're constantly being bombarded, and especially with the algorithm as well, it shows you what they think you want to see. So you're seeing the same images over and over again of the same types of people and the same, this, you know, that's you sort of, you can't help but think this is what I'm supposed to look like. This is what. So I think it's just been replaced by a different demon, has it?
Yeah. How old are your daughters?
So I've got a 19-year-old just about to turn 20 and 17.
So what are you seeing in their attitude to aging and their bodies? And
surprisingly, I'm not seeing that they're that bothered about that. Like, neither of them are really interested in makeup or beauty products or that kind of things, which is great. So I'm not. I feel like they're both interested in different things. So they're very creative. One of them's very musical, and she goes to music college, and one of them's does an art degree. So I think they're kind of more interested in that kind of thing rather than fashion. And I mean, they're interested in fashion, of course, but they don't. I don't feel like they get influenced. So I mean, although saying that, as a mother, this is what I'm seeing, but I don't see everything because you can't, and I don't know what they're consuming half the time from their attitude and what I'm seeing so far. But then they don't seem to be worried about their bodies, or, well, I hope not, because they're not talking to me about it anyway. So fingers crossed that they're going to be okay with that. But what I've always worried about is what they see me, because I have said to them, or not said to them, but said out loud, oh my gosh, I look awful in this. I look fat, or, you know, and then immediately thinking, oh God, I shouldn't say that in front of them. But, you know, they must have heard me say things over the years that has been maybe kind of detrimental to them. I'm hoping not, but so far, so good, I think. It still might be wishful thinking.
Yeah. So were you going into perimenopause at a point they were going into puberty?
Yeah. So I'm still kind of in that space. I'm still navigating it. It's such a weird thing to go through, isn't it? I just don't know where I am half the time. But yeah, so they're going through starting their periods and, you know, navigating teenage life at the same time as I'm kind of ending. And I think that must happen to a lot of women. You know, it's like we're sort of passing like the different stages. But I mean, my oldest daughter lives away now at uni, so she doesn't have to put up with my with me so much. Yeah, I mean, perimenopause has been just so weird to navigate, and I don't really know where I am, what I need to start taking, because I'm also epileptic as well, so I'm on medication for that. So there's only certain drugs I can have. So I've started to explore HRT and whether that's I'm at that point where I should go on it, but there's only one HRT I can go on, so I had to have lots of tests to see whether that would work for me. And so I'm kind of still at that sort of stage of, and then I just think, well, what, shall I just try and do it naturally? And it's just so difficult. And I don't know, sometimes I don't know whether the symptoms are that, or whether it's just me going mad, or just normal, or it's just so difficult. There's so many symptoms that you just think, what is this part of it, of me just getting older, or is it the menopause? I don't know. It's and my husband's.
Yeah, I bet. I want to get a little bit of fashion advice from you, not for me personally, for the listeners. But first of all, I want to talk to you about like the bane of everyone's lives, age-appropriate dressing. It's like, I know. And it's like, I mentioned before about when I was writing The Shift and talking to women about how they felt about clothes in their body. But I was really struck by how many women were saying, I can't wear that. I shouldn't wear that. That's too young. My partner or my kids would laugh at me. I mean, do you hear a lot of that?
Yeah, I do. I get messages from women all the time saying, "Oh, I don't think I could get away with that," or I feel like I'm too old for that, or I want to experiment a bit more, but I'm scared. And so, which is why I started my account in the first place. I wanted to be that person that people could see that it was possible. And I mean, as I've got older, I definitely think I've become more minimalist and more, maybe, I was a bit more experimental when I was younger, definitely. But I can still wear what I want, and I can still kind of adapt those things to make me so it works for me and so that I'm happy. And I just think it's a real shame, because as we get older, we know what we love. We have so much life experience that could be shown in the way we dress and the prints that we wear and the colours that we wear. And sometimes women just feel like, no, that's not for me anymore, and they kind of die that down and until it becomes not important to them anymore. And I think that that's such a shame, because I do feel like the way we look and the way we present ourselves to people is important. And not saying that it's important to look good, but it's important to show people who we are and that, our personalities and our individuality, and we should embrace that whatever age we are.
Hey, it's Kaylee Cuoco for Priceline. Ready to go to your happy place for a happy price? Well, why didn't you say so? Just download the Priceline app right now and save up to 60% on hotels. So whether it's Cousin Kevin's Kazoo Concert in Kansas City, go Kevin, or Becky's Bachelorette Bash in Bermuda, you never have to miss a trip ever again. So download the Priceline app today. Your savings are waiting.
Go to your happy place for a happy price. Go to your happy price, Priceline.
You know that thing when you get up in the morning and, before you've even left the house, you've been through 35 different emotions. You've got the pile of clothes on the floor is bigger than the pile of clothes in the wardrobe. I mean, it's kind of really depressing in your 50s to still be in that place. And I've got around it by basically wearing the same clothes every day. And I wrote a piece about it couple of weeks ago, and the response was absolutely massive. But it was, in a way, it was kind of a little bit sad, because a lot of people were saying, yeah, I've done that too, but really I haven't found it. It's not, yes, it's been liberating from the depressing rota in the mornings, but it's also quite sad because I did love clothes. How did you free yourself from that kind of morning self-esteem sapper? That morning self-esteem, I can't say it, self-esteem sapper that is getting dressed for so many women.
I think what I do is I have a base sometimes, so I have like a few different bases that I start with. So depending on what I'm doing, I might have like a few different outfits that I know work, so that I can just grab them quickly, and then I might add some personality with like a different coloured shoe or a different coloured bag or some accessories or whatever. So I think that can help if you have that, if you're feeling stuck, to have like maybe 5-6 outfits that work, that you're ready to go, you can just pull out of your wardrobe and that you feel good in. And then just trying to rotate items that have got a bit more personality into that outfit. And so that's sort of where I start from, that base. And I find that making sure that you always leave the house wearing something that makes you feel a bit more like you with a bit of personality, individuality, whatever it is. If you love print, if you love colour, or it might be some glasses, your signature kind of earring or whatever, that will help you then stop that kind of feeling like you're just wearing a pair of tracksuit and t-shirt and not really thinking about it. So definitely start with like a base of a few different outfits that you feel that really work for you and you feel good in, and then kind of build it from there. That's how I kind of get around it, I think. So if I'm doing something, if I need to get out, and even if it's just like going for a coffee with friends, I've got a few different options I know that work for me, and I'll just put it on, and then I think, right, okay, I'm just going to swap out this jacket for this one, or this t-shirt for a different colour, or something that then can add a little bit of my own personality into it.
It's like you just said, make you feel like you. And I think that's one of the things, isn't it, that quite often, and again, I feel like it's something I should have grown out of, and I have got better at it, but not completely. You buy a thing for someone you aren't, and then it hangs in the wardrobe for ages. And the problem with those things is that it doesn't feel like you when you put it on. It almost feels like it takes you over. Have you got any asking for a friend, have you got any advice for someone who's got a wardrobe full of dresses and never wears any of them? Because they're not a dress person.
But it's so common. And I think with social media and that algorithm that feeds us these things that we think we have to have it. And it might look amazing on somebody. And you think, oh, I love that. I'm gonna buy it. And we all do it. I'm guilty of it as well. Like, I absolutely love that dress. I'm going to get it. And then we put it on and think, oh, actually, that doesn't look quite the same. Or it doesn't suit me, or I feel self-conscious in it, or I just don't feel like me. And you might have, instead of returning it, which is what you should have done, you might keep it and think, oh, I'll wear it at some point. And then you don't, because like you said, it doesn't feel like you. So I think what you need to do is find your style and make sure that you know what that is about you that you love and that works for you, so that you can avoid making those buying mistakes and also stop those repeat buys as well, because that's, we do that a lot as well. We just repeat buy. It might be a stripy Breton top. We think, oh, I love that. I know that I feel good in that. I'm going to buy another 10, and we just don't need them. So to reduce, and I think having less in your wardrobe, you will get more out of it, because if it's just packed full of stuff that you don't wear, you can't see what you've got. So I would advise to go through it all, sell things that you don't wear and you haven't worn. Sometimes I say, if it's a maybe thing, like keep it for 6 months away, pack it away, put it in the loft for 6 months. If you haven't thought about it in 6 months, then it's time to go. And really concentrate on those things that you do really wear, that you feel good in, and then build from there, and just try and step away from that noise. So once you know what really suits you and what you love, then you can sort of filter out the noise and start thinking, hang on a minute, I know I love that on that person. That's great. I'm going to leave it there. It's good for them. It's not going to be good for me. This is what suits me. This is what I love. This is what makes me feel good. And that can be so many different styles. You don't have to stick to one style. Because I think a lot of people, when they talk about capsule wardrobes, think, which is what my book's about. It's all about sort of building a capsule wardrobe and a forever wardrobe. But that can be full of print and colour. It doesn't have to be a blazer and a white shirt and a pair of jeans. That's it. It can be different for everybody. But as long as it's got those elements of what makes you, and initially that's what you need to do, is like go through like the whole section of finding your style, and which I have a whole thing in my book about how to do that, how to kind of hone in on what that is, and what it is that will stop you from buying something that is just not going to work for you.
Yeah, because the capsule wardrobe thing it's actually, I've read the book a couple of times, and it actually is really, really useful. And I love all the worksheets and everything, because they make you really think. And I think the problem with the kind of phrase capsule wardrobe is it's such a magazine cliche, and it immediately, for me, summons up those. And I mean, guilty is charged, obviously, but one of those features that every magazine ever has done, which is like, take 7 things with you on your holiday and they'll all go together. But basically only if you wear the cosy you've been wearing all day and the sarong that's covered in sand out for dinner with some strappy sandals. That kind of, it's almost, the phrase is almost a turn off, isn't it? Because it's like, it's either that impossible thing, or it's a beige trench coat, classic shaped jeans, a white shirt, and much as I absolutely love that look, on the whole, a white shirt makes me look like, I don't know. And I haven't got big boobs to worry about. White shirts tend to make me look like I'm just about to go spend the night waitressing. Do you know what I mean?
And that's it. And that's why I called the book The Forever Wardrobe rather than The Capsule Wardrobe, because it's just about finding those pieces that will last and that you don't want to get rid of because they do work on you. It doesn't have to be, like you said, though, that jeans, blazer, white shirt, T-shirt. It can be whatever it is that you love. So, and also, I also think you can have a few mini capsule wardrobes as well within a wardrobe. So, because some people like to mix it up. Some people like to be, a bit boho on one day and then very, minimalist on another day. So, you might have a few different wardrobes within your wardrobe that where pieces will mix and match. And I do like the idea of the whole mix and match thing, because it does mean that you're getting the wear out of your items. But of course, there are going to be items that don't work together. And it's about finding those basic pieces that do help to bring those things together. So whoever it is, whatever style you're into, whatever you love, it's just about not creating too much noise, so that when you open your wardrobe doors, you're not like, oh, what? I can't, it's too much. I can't decipher what I'm doing. It's impossible. You just close it again and you pick up the thing that you left on the chair the night before, because it's just too difficult. So it's about opening that wardrobe and thinking, right, I've got all these amazing prints and colours with dresses or skirts or whatever it is, but then you've got your basics that will help to mould that outfit. And you can build from there. So it's kind of like sort of getting those things right.
Yeah, it's really about, isn't it, about training yourselves to stop buying things because you want to be the woman you saw wearing it.
Yeah, and it's so difficult, but we have to know who we are and be true to ourselves, because, and that's why I kind of start with, find your style. First of all, look at what it is that you're saving to Pinterest or you're saving on your Instagram saves. Why is it? What is it that you're attracted to? Take the person and the lifestyle and where they are out of it. Purely look at the outfit and think, okay, will that work for me? Will that work for my lifestyle? And then how can I adapt it to, maybe I like that look. I like how it looks on this person, but how can I adapt it so it works for me? And sometimes that might be just taking one element out, or it might be changing the shape of the jeans, or it might be, it might be that you love a really a high heel, but you've got nowhere to wear them. So it's about thinking about what will work for you, for your lifestyle and what you do day to day.
Yeah, I love that idea of kind of taking that celebrity picture and trying to take the woman out of the clothes. Yeah, because I absolutely love there's a French Instagram influencer called Valérie Tribe. It's spelt tribes for anybody listening. And I absolutely love her look and I love her Instagram. I have to remind myself that, I've never met her, so I don't know whether she's tall or short, but she's certainly like a size 2. And she really tans as well. And that's a really big deal if you really don't tan. Those things that, even if everything else about you is identical, if you're a very, very pale, freckly person, you're going to look very different in something to someone who looks like they've just come off a 6-week holiday and didn't go bright red like I would have done.
Yeah, and that's with, I sometimes see people wearing amazing, beautiful, like a lemon shirt or 2-piece, and they've got like this beautiful dark skin and I think, oh, that looks so good on them, but it wouldn't look good on me. And I know that because I know I've tried those sort of colours before. And so, people might benefit from having their colours done so that they at least know what works for them. I don't like the whole rule thing around colours. And, if you want to, you can wear what you want. So it's up to you. But if you feel like you want a bit of help in that department, then it might be beneficial to do that. So you could at least say, okay, I really love that look. I love that style, but that colour's not going to suit me. So maybe I go for if it's a lemon, you go for a darker yellow, or you go for like more of an orangey tone, or whatever it is that's going to suit you more. So you can still look for something that's going to get that kind of look, so the same silhouette, for example, but the colours might be more suitable to you. Or it might be something that you don't like your arm. You love this sleeveless top on, or like I love waistcoats on people, but I don't like my arms. So it's, I can buy a waistcoat and I know I probably won't wear it that often because I feel quite self-conscious about my arms because it's another thing I suffer with, psoriasis. So I've got quite a lot of psoriasis on my arms. So I know that wearing a waistcoat is, I'm going to feel self-conscious. So it's about maybe thinking, okay, well, I like the waistcoat look, but I'm going to go for a fitted blazer instead, or wear, like just thinking about how you can adapt it that's going to suit you. And that's what it's just making sure that you know yourself inside out, rather than just sort of picking up just saying, well, I love this on that person, I'm going to order it. Because that's when we waste so much money doing that. There must be so many returns, and a lot of high street stores, the really cheap ones, don't even put those things that people return back on sale. So it then goes straight onto landfill.
When I read that about a lot of high street stores putting lower, cheaper high street stores, and undoubtedly the likes of Shane and whatnot putting, returns straight onto landfill, I was really shocked. And I think a lot of people probably were. But you write a lot about having a mindful wardrobe and sustainability. But the flip side of that is everybody's really skint right now. How do you balance those two things? So you haven't got much money, you haven't got much time, leaving aside the fact you probably haven't got much confidence either, because that's just all getting a bit too depressing. And you really don't want to be funding that landfill. How do you make a wardrobe more sustainable on a restricted budget?
I would never say to anyone to not shop somewhere. I really would advise people not to shop at the really lower end, like Shane and all those kind of, because it's horrendous the amount of clothes that they sell or they don't sell and that end up on landfill, and also the workers as well, so ethically as well. But saying that, totally, people are on different budget, people have no money. I just always say, whatever you buy, wherever it's from, don't just buy it as a short-lived trend. Just try and think of it as a long-term thing. Try look at fabrication if you can. Buy the best that you can afford, and look at it as a long-term thing. So something that is going to last. So I have a couple of Zara pieces, for instance. I try not to shop in Zara, but I have a few pieces that I've had for years that I still wear. Like it might be just like a really interesting vest. Like I've got a really lovely vest from there that I wear a lot. So I've got my wear out of it. I didn't just buy it and then throw it out a month later, which a lot of people do. And especially if it's not well made, which it invariably isn't when it's bought from a cheap shop, so it might not last. But there's pre-loved, there's rental, there's buying vintage. So there's always ways around it. But I would never want to say to people you should just buy pre-loved if you've got that budget, because that's not what everybody wants. But there are options out there, like if you're going to something that's just a one-off, like a wedding, think about maybe rental, because and there's some really good rental places out there that do sustainable practices like sustainable washing, sustainable transport, that kind of thing, and they're offsetting a lot of their emissions, which is good. So there's ones out there that are worth looking at that in that respect. It's up to each of us to be mindful. But what I hope to do is just to show people there is a way of building a wardrobe that will last, and that so you can invest in pieces that aren't just this. It's not this throwaway society that we've become used to.
Yeah, that's the trouble, isn't it? When you were saying about don't buy 5 pieces in Primark, buy 1 in COS, which I absolutely is fine for me because I just don't really like Primark. So, and also I think of Primark as really being for my teenage goddaughter, not, we're so geared towards quantity, aren't we? We're so, it's the haul. And even if you aren't a haul generation, if you didn't grow up watching people sharing their shopping hauls on YouTube, it's still a thing like, oh, well, I've got 5 different things to wear with my jeans rather than I've got one thing to wear. You know what I mean? It's a mindset thing, which is it's really hard to shift.
It is. And people feel like we need a different thing for every event, instead of thinking I've got this one beautiful top that I feel absolutely amazing and I love, feeling like, oh, I can't wear that again because I wore that the last time I went out. Or I'm seeing somebody that I saw wearing this dress. I can't wear that dress again. What would they think? And it's just that mindset is just ridiculous. And, it has changed from mum and dad were younger and they used to buy items that would, that they would just repeat wear. And whereas we've sort of got into this mentality of we need something new all the time. And with social media, that's even harder because we're always being sold something. And I myself think I'm guilty of that. Like my Instagram does sometimes, include ads and, I'm promoting products. But I try and be as mindful as possible with that and try and only showcase things that I genuinely think people would wear and would enjoy and would bring something to their wardrobe. If they already have something already in their wardrobe that would work, then even better.
But I was just thinking when you were talking about your mum, and I was thinking there's a lovely anecdote in the book about your mum having two suits in the 60s when she was at work and just they were on rotation forever. And that's a lovely anecdote, but we probably need to go back to that way of dressing, but it's a really big leap, isn't it?
The difference was they were made for her and they were made to last and they were made beautifully and they fit her perfectly. And I think that's, they were probably a lot of money for her at the time, but she didn't wear anything else. She just like she just rotated them. So we do need to go back though, like just go back to that time where we invested in things that we loved, that we lasted, that looked great on us, that fit us. And then we just wore them until they either didn't fit us anymore or they fell apart, which, if they're made well, they don't do. Or we sell them on, which we can do if they're beautifully made and so it's so difficult. We are in this, it's just in such an awful place where it's just constant stuff that we're buying.
Right, I'm going to ask you the questions that I always ask at the end. What is your emotional age?
Well, I think I'm quite mature usually, and I think for the most part I would say that I'm probably my age, like the age I am now. But I can revert back to being a petulant teenager sometimes. I've got a bit of a temper on me and sometimes I was quite badly bullied at school and I think I've got some insecurities around friendships because of that. And I think sometimes if I feel like I'm left out, then I can revert back to that being quite immature again, which is quite sad. But for the most part, I think I'm at my age, my emotional age is this.
Oh, now I want to ask you loads of questions about that. Give us a book recommendation.
I really love I read it a few years ago and I just love it so much. The Island of Missing Trees.
Yeah, it's brilliant. Elif
Shafak, yeah. And I just absolutely loved it. I loved the way that it was from the perspective or both perspectives of the tree as well. And I just thought it was just really beautiful. I loved it. In fact, I'm going to read it again.
Yeah, it's such a gorgeous book. What advice would you give younger women?
I think I'd say to look after your body and mind. I think for me, I don't think I looked after my body enough, and now I'm suffering for it. So I think probably because I'm in a lot of pain at the moment with my back, that's kind of always on the forefront of my mind. I just wish that I'd kind of maybe taken up Pilates or yoga. Yeah, just looked after myself a bit more. That's not to say that I would never have developed this arthritis, but hopefully would be a bit more supple and strong than I am now. And to be grateful. I need to start being grateful for my body as well, which is, so I think, so my younger self, I wish that I would just be like, my body's amazing. I'm so thankful for it.
I think that's the thing, isn't it? You spend so much of your life beating your body up, or a lot of people do. I did, that you forget to be grateful for the fact it works.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah. And I think now that it's really, sometimes it's a struggle to get dressed in the morning. I have to kind of lasso my, trousers over my feet to try and get them on. So I think, God, I wish I was more grateful when I was younger, when I could do a cartwheel. And I used to go disco dancing with my sister, just those sort of things. I was like, so I used to moan about it. I wish I just would love to be, just to sort of think our bodies are incredible. We need to look after them.
Who's your old bird role model?
I really love Leslie Manville. I've read a few interviews with her, and she's just she just doesn't give a shit. She doesn't give a shit about getting older, or she just embraces it really beautifully. And I just think she's so proud of the aging process, and I just think she's so cool. I love her.
What's your superpower?
Oh, I struggled with this one. I even asked my husband about it. He's like, I don't think you have one.
Oh, thanks.
Thanks. I think probably what I'm sort of most proud of, I suppose, is I'm really loyal, and I'm a good friend. I'm a good friend. So I've got a lot of different groups of friends, and my oldest friends, some I've known for 40 years, it's just amazing. They know they can ring me at any time of the day or night, and I'll be there in a flash to help them. I'm loyal, and my friends are everything to me. I say that to my girls as well. Just really nurture your friendships, because they're so important. So I think my friendship, can that be a superpower?
It can. I would really now like to ask you all about what you said about your emotional age and how those two things are connected. But we've been talking for like ages already. But do you think, I'm just going to, just a little one. Do you think that superpower, that loyalty, is connected to the bullying at school?
The people that are now my oldest friends are the friends that I became friends with once I was moved class from being bullied. So I was bullied quite badly, and I moved class into a new group, and then I met these girls. So they actually were a result of the bullying, because I met them through that, and I wouldn't have, and they really looked after me. So yeah, maybe I think I worry a lot about what people think of me. Yeah, so I think maybe I make sure that those friends are looked after as much as I can, because I don't want to lose them. Because I know what it feels like to not have them. I don't know. It's a tricky one, that.
Yeah. So I think that's probably like a bottle of wine conversation.
Yeah.
Last one. How many fucks do you give?
Oh, yeah. I'd like to say none, but that would be a lie. I do care quite a lot about what people think of me, like I said, and I analyze things a lot, especially after a conversation. I think, oh God, how did I come across? Did somebody take something I said the wrong way? I sort of go over it over and over again in my head. So I'd like to say, yeah, I'd give 0 fucks, but actually I think I give probably too many, which is, I'll have to work on that one. Definitely something I need to work on.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoy The Shift and would like to show your appreciation, why not buy me a coffee? Go to www.buymeacoffee.com/The Shift with Sam Baker. You can hear a new episode of The Shift every Tuesday, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you like what you hear, please do rate, review, follow, tell your friends, because it really does help other people find us. And if you'd like to know more about my own experience of shifting, my book, The Shift, How I Lost and Found Myself After 40, and you can too, is out now in paperback.